Good morning or good afternoon, whatever time you guys are listening to us. Welcome back to another edition of the Layman's AI podcast. I am Adam,
Yeah, my name is Brian.
and this week we are here to talk about a subject that, well, we kind of thought about it at the last minute, I guess is the way I would say that. We want to talk about AI and
Yep.
procrastination. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt kind of fitting this week as we kind of procrastinated on getting this put together, and I'm procrastinating about getting an episode uploaded. So it felt good this week.
It happens. It happens sometimes. Sometimes you
Yes, definitely.
procrastinate. And I guess the question we asked ourselves as we were procrastinating is Is this happening more now that we have AI, or is it happening less now that we have AI? Now, Brian, without
Or
cheating, or what's the third?
or is it doing absolutely no difference?
Or is it
Or
making no
making
difference?
absolutely no.
All
There's your
right.
three options right there.
So, Brian, because of the theme of procrastination, we probably haven't looked at the show
hmm
notes as well as we have. What do you think?
You know what? I'm kind of like right in the middle. I think people who are going to procrastinate will procrastinate regardless if they have an AI tool or not.
Okay.
But I think AI does have a sort of potential to kind of amplify the fact that you procrastinated, if that kind of makes sense right there. Like if you rely a little bit too much on AI to do the work for you, it's going to show up, and you can tell that you just had AI throw it together essentially. So
Right.
it might expose it a little more as the procrastinator is suddenly going to have this immaculate paper that they wrote because AI did it. But the actual fact of procrastinating, I think like I said, people are going to procrastinate if they feel like it. I'm pretty notorious for it, so.
So, with that being said, okay, the truth is, I know the show notes.
hmm
We did look into this, but before we even started, I was convinced
hmm
that procrastination is on the rise because people are convinced they can wait till the last minute and they're convincing themselves they can wait till the last minute and let AI do
hmm
part of their job or their studies or whatever it
Yeah.
is that they're using it for. And what we're going to find with the show notes today, with what we did with research, with a lot of help from Perplexity as always, we are
hmm
going to talk about there's pros and there's cons, and it's very strange. It's almost like we don't really know the answer, but we kind of do know the answer. And then we're going to talk about some tools that could possibly help break procrastination that are possibly AI as well. So for
hmm
listeners, stick around. You're going to get some good tools that are out there. We know we had a past episode that talked about tools that hold people accountable at the beginning of the new year. And lately, that episode has really kind of taken off in terms of the downloads. So, as always, we want to thank our listeners.
Yeah.
We have a lot of new listeners now. We're pretty excited
hmm
about that. We have a larger audience developing in different parts of
Absolutely.
the world. So, welcome to the show. We hope you guys keep listening. Pretty excited to have you. And let's go into our first segment of today. Okay. So, what we're going to do is I want to talk about the actual definition of procrastination because I am always
hmm
worried that people think procrastination means lazy. And
Yeah,
that's not the thing. Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of the whole thing is like you're just lazy. It's like I'm not lazy, I just kind of put it off until the last possible second. And then, some
Right.
people like to go step by step and plan things out way too early. Some people like to just kind of go about their day and be like, "Oh, I got this happening in 2 days. I better get to work on it." And they just get to work on it.
Hmm.
My wife and I are pretty much the opposites. I like to smash everything together in the last minute. She likes to plan things out. So it's just kind of like a personality type thing, really.
Yep.
Drives some people nuts, some people get used to it. But in the case of AI tools, I like kind of listen to you talk, I think it can lead more people to procrastinate a little bit more.
Hmm.
Just because they know these tools are sitting here waiting for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I got a 500 page paper, or a 500 word paper or whatever. I can have AI write that. That's no problem. Or, I got to get emails out to, my client list and everything like that. You got AI tools to help get the same email out over and over again to the client list. So, that's really no big deal right there. But,
Hmm.
knowing that these tools are there, essentially, I think that could, lead to a lot more, essentially.
You nailed it. You nailed it because like when I think
Hmm.
of procrastination, I know that one of the terms or one of the definitions is like it's not laziness, it's a self-regulated failure or a
Hmm.
self-regulated reasoning system to delay tasks.
Yeah.
Usually, in my case, when I procrastinate, it's because I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now, whether it's relaxing, you know, like
Hmm.
watching sports or something like that. And I
Hmm.
know that okay, I'm going to continue to do this, and I'll just do that thing later on with AI. And guess what? Like
Yeah.
most times you procrastinate, it can still come back to bite you. That's just from personal experience that I've had. I'm sure
Hmm.
I'm sure you've had one or two of those, Brian. I will say you did
Oh,
get me thinking.
absolutely. Hmm.
You did get me
What are you
thinking
thinking on?
because it always cracks me up how a non-procrastinator is always married to a procrastinator. I just
Yes. Am I
it
hitting home
blows.
on that one a little bit?
Yeah,
Am
I
I
don't
hitting
think we're
home?
the only one. I think there's quite a few that it's just
Yeah.
interesting.
Well,
It's interesting. It's almost
I
like that's a good sign to know that you're compatible somehow. If one of you is
yeah,
not.
definitely. I think it really it's kind of that balance, kind of like that yin and yang type thing, because there's good things about, planning out, but there's also some benefits to someone who procrastinates because they can, sit there and whip up work on the spot,
Hmm.
essentially. And that's kind of like what they're used to because, we all know this. We've all been at work at places. All of a sudden you're doing a thing, you're doing everything that's planned, and someone comes up, your boss comes up, or a situation arises, and you just got to whip out something like right on top of everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like the procrastinator can adapt to that a little bit better. Not
Hmm.
saying, one's better than the other or anything. I never like to look at things like that way because we all have our skill sets that we bring to the table. So I think that's kind of we have to be put into our situations essentially
Hmm.
as to where we can thrive. The people who can plan out and think ahead and lay everything out ahead of time. They have their roles, and the people who procrastinate and just kind of whip everything together, everything they can be put into their roles too. And when it all comes together, we can all make something beautiful here. And
Yeah.
I can like relate that to a lot of things in life, but that's essentially. I think I'm done with the philosophy aspect of it because this is supposed to be an AI podcast, not a relationship therapy, I should say. But
Yeah,
if
we
we're
are
going
not
to,
certified
since
to do that. We're
no,
we're
no,
just
we
here to
we are
point
definitely
out
not.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Like tired with a cup of bourbon that doesn't qualify me. But anyway, heading into the next segment here,
Yeah.
the students
Let's talk about
essentially,
students.
and
Yeah.
yes, so AI, can it help procrastinators? Do you think it could actually help those who like to procrastinate?
We do know this. An interesting note, by the way, student use of AI when it comes to procrastination is actually the largest heavily researched area. It's not the
Hmm.
workforce, it is students. And what we know
Okay.
to
Well,
talk
that's good.
Okay, to talk about what you were just saying, we do know that there are cases where AI helps, and the source for this is somewhat fairly recent. It was a 2025 study, a mediation study from the Internal Journal of Innovative Research and Scientific Studies.
Hmm.
They researched 727 students and found that AI tool use um, was actually tied to less procrastination. And some
Hmm.
of their
Okay.
reasoning behind this was because AI lowers task aversiveness, making intimidating tasks feel more doable, and gives instant help. It can also, in my opinion, what we call chunking. It could take stuff and break it up into steps for you. And I love that because I do think that's a proper use of AI. You're not
No,
procrastinating. You're learning with it. You're learning with this great tool.
yeah, that does kind of make a lot of sense right there. Because if you have this like insurmountable task that you're going to be going into, and it's on your mind, like you're thinking about it, you're just not doing much, whole bunch about it. You could just kind of sit there and bring up a Gemini chat or Claude Project or what do we got, Perplexity or Notebook LM or
Hmm.
whatever, and we
Yeah.
can kind of just ask it some questions about this subject and be like, oh, okay, why don't you give me a file like that and put it in, like save it and everything, and you can kind of as your thoughts are coming through, you could just kind of ask an AI about this and have it, oh, whip up a document about that and what have you, and once it gets down to it, you have a series of completed thoughts. So you can go back in and take each one of those thoughts individually and kind of lay them out for yourself right there.
Yeah.
And that might actually motivate you to actually do a little bit more right there. So it could kind of clear what they call the writer's block, essentially.
Hmm.
I've used it before when I'm, trying to think of something and I kind of ask AI something, be like, yeah, this is where I'm at, essentially. What are some ideas? And it'll throw some ideas out at me. And then I'll kind of, allow the ideas to sort of fester, be like, oh, I like this one, I like this one. And then suddenly it clears kind of the mental log jam, as they call writer's block or what have you.
Right.
So that this could sort of help along the case essentially. But there's also issues where it hurts. And there's
Hmm.
another study, and it's looking like similar here. Journal of Innovative. No, this is a different one. This is a different one. It's a different journal.
Yeah. There's
But they
two
actually found
journals
out
came to
it
the same
could
thing.
hurt.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it could hurt you, essentially. Isn't that right,
Yeah.
Adam?
That is right. So one of the ones, Journal of Digital Pedagogy Exploratory Study. For those who don't know, pedagogy is it's a term we use in education a lot. It's basically how children learn, and children, teenagers. It's basically how they learn. And what that study found, by the way, was that heavy use of ChatGPT reliance tied to lower cognitive effort, poor memory retention. We all know about the memory
Hmm.
retention. It's terrible, and more procrastination.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody's surprised by that. That was kind of my hypothesis before we even tackled this subject,
Hmm.
was that it was going to be more harmful than good. But
Yeah.
in, yeah,
Yeah, no, it definitely has a bad side to it. Everything's got the sort of the bad side to it, essentially, if you really want to sort of look at it like that. But, like you said, it could, lead to a reliance and lower cognitive effort. I think that's kind of like the key right there. If you rely um, on
yeah,
these tools to do the work for you, you're not gonna, you know, like your abilities aren't gonna be like very well put to the test, so to say. I'm trying to find some words right here.
no,
But it could lead to some issues there.
I think I know what where the wording is. It's there was another study that basically said, well, there's a third one here, and it basically says there's two pathways you can use, one of which makes procrastination worse, one of it makes it better. But I'm looking at the two studies that we primarily mentioned, the one with the 700 kids and the one with the kids that were just using it for the bad memories and things like that. I
Hmm.
I want to say that I think it's a matter of your personal use and maybe even your personal ethics, if you will. I have no doubt those 700 students that showed less procrastination, whether they realized it or not, they
Hmm.
probably had the right motivation to use AI as a tool to help them get means to an end. Whereas
Yeah.
the others just wanted the ending without any of the learning process.
Yeah,
Um,
that is a very
yeah.
common thing I see in pretty much any um pretty much any professional field, really. You just want people to get to the ends of everything, and yeah, you can get there, but basically, if you don't know how you got there, what are you learning?
And that,
What kind of
yeah,
skills are you developing, really?
and that's it. And I actually just talked to a mutual friend of ours. I haven't seen him for a couple times in years, and he's an assistant principal, and he was telling me that he busts kids for AI, and they're not even reading what they turn in. They they
Hmm.
they don't know they're using it in that second study case. They're just having it whip
Yeah.
up the paper for them or the answer to the question, and they're not even taking the time to at least research what the answer was. That's a true
Hmm.
problem. You're just trying to get to the end, and we don't want that for anybody. It's pointless.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, but I think it always goes back to the individual. I feel like, the same people who are using AI to just do everything for them just happen to live at a time where this is the way that they can get away with it. Like
Hmm.
there's been ways that people have been getting away with it. You remember all the techniques people cheat on a test. Like they'll, get the answers, they'll write them on their inside of their hand or whatever as they're going ahead and doing that. I mean, you've seen students do these. I'm not giving any ideas that don't already know or what have you, but they just want to pass the test.
Hmm.
And I've asked some colleagues of mine, I'm like, why don't you just learn the material? And they're like, look at you like you're crazy. It's like if you learn the material, then you can pass the test. Where it's like, okay, you passed the test just as well as I did, but do you know how you got there? And they got there because they were writing the answers on the inside of their water bottle and kind
Mm.
of shining it through or what have you. You remember that technique?
No, no, I would
Oh,
never do
okay.
such a thing.
Okay. I've heard some people that do that and what have you, but my whole point is I've never personally done that. I can be honest. I will be honest. I've always been honest. You can believe me or not, it doesn't matter to me. But either way, um, essentially, kind of my whole point is the individuals who would use AI as their crutch, we're always going to find the crutch of the crutch du jour, so to say. So
Mhm.
they just happen to be born at the time where AI can just be their crutch, essentially. And those individuals are always going to do that, and they've always existed. It just so happens today it's AI,
Right.
essentially.
They have a much better tool at doing what they want to do.
Hmm. Exactly.
Because even that stuff you're talking about with like the people that would make the crib sheets, they still had to take the
Hmm.
time to write that out very small
Yeah.
or to put it wherever. So there was some type of cognitive effort to do something with the content.
Yes, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's like you spent 2 hours putting this whole elaborate plan together. You could have spent those 2 hours studying.
Yep.
But
Yep.
either way, I think that's yeah, I don't know.
Well, let's see how this translates to the workplace now, shall we?
Oh, okay.
All right. So, there's a little bit of less findings because there's less research in the actual
Hmm.
workplace, and I guess workplace in this case is very vague. It's
Hmm.
obviously somewhere where you have the use of AI tools, like for example, plumbing, HVAC. I don't see how there's an impact with AI yet
Hmm.
in those industries in terms of leading to procrastination. I don't see that as a thing. So some of these studies though did have to be international, which I guess is a good thing. But
Hmm.
there was a study done in China with 411 employees in China found the AI effects on procrastination ran through boredom. So what they're saying is when AI takes over too much of a task, workers then get bored, and then the boredom turns into procrastination.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
workers need to be occupied. We all get bored at work sometimes. If you get a long stretch where there's, not a whole lot to do, your mind tends to wander,
Yeah.
and it just kind of happens right that. So AI taking over too much of a task, workers get bored. But I think part of that also is um, we haven't formulated or kind of formed ourselves around what AI can do quite yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
As essentially like, okay, I've been doing this job for so long. Oh, AI can do a lot of this. Oh, okay. And it's like, so what do I do? And I think that's the ultimate question right there is now that AI is here, how can this employee occupy themselves or what have you?
Hmm.
Because there's things they can do. It's just what they've always done is now shortened or kind of assisted heavily by AI.
I think that the distinguishment, which was mentioned in the study, is it AI assisted work or is it AI led work? If it's AI
Hmm.
assisted, it's going to be more along the lines of those 700 students who were using it as a tool and using it correctly to like chunk things out and get things done. If it's actual AI led work and not necessarily human led,
Hmm.
of course it's going to lead to boredom.
Yeah.
You, why do you even have the human still if it relies so much on AI led work? Which is a really scary thing for me to say out loud.
Yeah, that's kind of a scary thing right there.
Yeah.
Because yeah, we always like to say it's a tool, and if you use it as a tool, you won't procrastinate as very much.
Hmm.
Our overarching message came through on this episode, I'd say,
I'd say so.
especially with these studies as well. The brain fry twist, though. So
Correct.
this
Yeah,
is
check this one out. Yeah.
coming from UC Berkeley, 8 month study of a 200-person U.S. tech firm found AI actually increased workload and burnout, intensifying work instead of freeing up time, and 34% of burned out workers wanted to quit. So what this is kind of telling me, okay, so a tech firm right here,
Hmm.
essentially that's coding. That's, coding and engineering. I would say that kind of sums up what they're doing right here. But, when you're trying to code and you're using AI to help you code, I can see how it could keep just keep the flow going and everything, and you just get more lines of code, more lines of code. And I've been an advocate for this on this podcast quite a bit, was that if you learn how to code, you can use AI to code better for you if you
Hmm.
know how to do it. So now that the coding mindset has this tool, it just keeps working and working and working. And sometimes the human brain just doesn't sit back and be like, okay, let me think for a minute. And this could kind of take that sort of reprieve that the human mind needs away from them.
Absolutely. It really can. And it's this goes back to another episode that we've already discussed, but those people feeling like they now have to do more and more and more and more and more now that AI can make them do things faster.
Hmm.
This is where the pessimist in me. I guarantee those people aren't getting paid more, even though they're producing more for the most
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, that's the
Uh,
other thing right there
they're not
is
getting paid more. They're not getting younger people, new people into the profession. Like it's a whirlwind that I just don't
hmm
like. I
yeah.
hope it'd be great if I was wrong. And if I
hmm
am wrong, somebody reach out to us on LinkedIn and tell me. I would love to hear this story because that's a good thing. I want to be wrong. I don't think I am. Uh,
Yeah, definitely. But no, I've been at places where, you do more work, you work, and you get paid the same amount of money, and that just kind of gets you burned out because you're just like, what's the point of this?
yeah,
And I think that does kind of go in the mindset as well.
yeah,
But yeah, it's rational response to being overloaded rather than a personal failing. That's kind of the question that we had here in our notes.
yeah.
What do you think? Is it
Oh,
which one?
procrastination. It is a rational response at times.
Hmm.
If you're overloaded, your brain doesn't know where to start, so you procrastinate.
Hmm. Yeah.
What am I going to do? I'm going to do that one comfort thing that I like to do right now, whatever that thing may be. Whether it's
Hmm.
take a little bit of a longer lunch, or okay, I've got all these things like in front of me. I don't even want to sit
Yeah.
down and make a list of the things to do. I just want to
Hmm.
relax, read a book or something. You're going to do that and accidentally procrastinate or purposely procrastinate.
Yeah,
I do think
definitely.
the overloaded work does cause that. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. So, but let's get into our next segment here.
Yeah, because there's
Apps and
help.
tools.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's say, does AI cause procrastination has been the question so far, but can AI be built to specifically fight it? Which I think is a possibility if you do it correctly.
I think it's realistic. I think you have to approach it with a good mindset. I don't even like using that term. But
Hmm.
the truth is, I think if you approach it with, okay, I've got to do better at this, there are tools out there that can help you. There are. And
Hmm.
if you buy into it and it works for you, then that means it's working. So, the first one we're going to talk about is actually pretty popular. You've probably heard of this one. In fact, Brian, we may have even mentioned this before, way back in the day. But
Hmm.
Todoist AI, it's basically to do IST. It turns
Uh-huh.
vague tasks into concrete subtask lists for you, and it is an app that you can put on your phone.
Hmm.
It simply breaks down and chunks things, and it will help you achieve it if you commit to it. Just say, I'm doing this thing now, this thing now, this thing then, and go through it. It's also one of the more popular ones. So yeah, it's one of the ones that when we were doing the show notes, I was like, I know this one. I've heard this one. I actually want to say this
Yeah.
is somehow linked to Microsoft, but I might be speaking out of turn.
Yeah, definitely. But, this could kind of help you. I can say like that because you always think like even around the house, you can be like, okay, I want to get this done.
Hmm.
Like, where do I start? And sometimes you just don't think about starting, and you kind
Yeah.
of give up and you put it off to the last minute or procrastinate, the word of the episode. And w without that checklist, just kind of things that you can do in the meantime, um, that could lead you to becoming complacent. And I think that is a very big possibility right here. So this could be a good one right there.
Right. And it's something that's available and easy to start. Another thing you can do if you don't want another app, which is probably
Hmm.
realistic, you could do an unblocking prompting, which is basically use your LLM and say, you just throw a dictate or throw a dictate a messy rough draft and just tell AI what all you got to do and ask it
Hmm.
to clean it up and like focus on breaking up the problem so that you can get it done. And it
Yeah.
will help you do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've done that before. I've taken documents and notes and everything, and attached it to an LLM and be like, okay, help me out here.
Yeah.
And I've also done that with some cooking recipes.
Hmm.
Essentially, I took a picture of the page of the recipe, and I'm trying to figure out some other ways to do it. So, this could also be translated into what should I say? Kind of doing in the procrastination, and uh, kind of help you out a little bit. I'm like
Hmm.
fumbling over my thoughts right here. I apologize to
That's
our
all right.
listeners, like boring the hell out of you right now. But either way, another one, which I kind of like this one, QuizCat AI. And it can take all your notes, quizzes, and everything, or take all your notes and all your documents, and it can turn into quizzes or flashcards. And this will make studying feel less like a chore. Now, this is one of my favorite uses of AI, where if you can take all your documents and all your notes and everything, all the work that you did and all the research that you did and throw it into one tool, and now that tool can help you generate
Hmm.
real life documents or real life um, sort of work here. And this is one that I like a lot where it can take those, quizzes and flashcards, and now it can help you study. So
Yeah.
instead of just like kind of reading, page after page after page and hoping it all sticks, this could actually give you a more actionable study guide here, which is what I like a lot.
Absolutely. And I would also mention just name dropping here. Notebook LM could do the same thing.
Hmm.
But it's kind of nice when there's one tool that's specific for it. The next thing I
Yeah,
want to talk
definitely.
about though, you can actually do some adaptive scheduling, which is a technique with a technology tool. This kind of helps remove the friction of you, the person trying to decide what's next for you. This will adjust when it falls behind, and that's motion. Motion's a pretty common tool that I think people are using,
Hmm.
and it auto builds your calendar, your tasks, your deadlines, and it re-optimizes your whole week if something slips. So if you do procrastinate for a day, it can rearrange things to make sure that you still get it done. I'm sure there's a price associated with it, if I recall, but nevertheless, it is mentioned as a good tool to um, help you with any procrastination problems you may have as a result of not, doing the work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and if you use that calendar, that can definitely help you a lot too. And if
Yeah.
it's integrated with your daily calendar or your hourly calendar, it could definitely kind of put you, or should I say, like kind of put you on the right track, so to say. So you can just check your calendar throughout the day, be like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing today? And it can kind of give you some tips like that. So tools like that, I think, are going to be more of a future of AI,
Hmm.
essentially, and just kind of using features like that. Because right now people are, using LLMs to basically do whatever for you.
Hmm.
And I think like these actionable tools are really what's going to help, people, lose their procrastination or help fix their procrastination a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, I like these tools and everything.
Yeah. The next one,
Uh,
which is really interesting because excuse me. The next one's really interesting. It's called Rise, Rize. Now, this one is probably better for people who are maybe not using AI as their reason for procrastination. This is something that actually like tracks your activity in the background, like shows you your hard data, like on your phone. So, for
mhm.
example, it will say you checked Slack 45 times this hour. All
Yeah.
right, that coaches me. It's basically a coaching me of, oh my gosh, I either need to delete this app or put the phone away because I've been looking at it too many
Yeah.
times in the past hour.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
it's almost like a small behavior coach that tracks data. Again, you have to be willing to give up that data to somebody. But
Hmm.
I mean, if you're procrastinating badly, yeah, it's probably something you may want to consider.
Yeah. And I'm kind of, eh, I may be okay on this one a little bit, but your phone kind of does that natively a little bit. So
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm kind of on the fence about that one if I want to be honest right here. So, yeah, that's kind of couple tools right there that we could, use and everything. What do we got coming up next here, Adam?
Well, the
What do we
last
want
one,
to talk about here?
the last tool I want to talk about. This is kind of interesting. I think it's called Dawdle,
Hmm.
AI. And that is, it was actually built from a study on guided exercise for under 2 minutes of improved mood and next day follow through. So uh, it's actually it's a simple tool and it shows strong evidence. It's almost like a Zen-like tool that helps you like follow through just by giving it a couple minutes each day.
Hmm. Yeah, and yeah, this tool right here, I'm just doing a little bit. It was actually developed by a doctor in psychology.
Okay.
So this actually has a little bit more backing, and this is kind of where I like to mention who's behind the AI, essentially.
Hmm.
And, if you're using like a mood altering tool, which kind of lack of a better sense of a term here, um, and you have an actual psychologist with this tool behind it, and a board of psychologists, it's only a matter of time before full boards get behind things like this.
Hmm.
That could actually help you out a lot more too. So, yeah, this is where I like this one right here, where you can kind of go through and everything, and it actually uses real psychology instead of an LLM trained by, tech nerds that read about psychology
Right. I like
at
that.
some point.
And I like what was powerful was when you said it, it kind of alters the mood of the person. But you know
Hmm.
what's nice, Brian? It's not a drug. It's not an alcohol. It's not a,
Hmm.
you know, it's not a, something we have to put in our bodies. It's just
Yeah.
something that we listen to, and something that we use. But it's not as dangerous as, drugs or alcohol for a mood increase. So
Exactly.
I guess if you're in a better mood,
Exactly.
that means you're less likely to procrastinate. You know what? We should just get gym memberships like everybody. That'll do it. That'll improve the mood.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
definitely.
get right
So,
on that. Yeah, January of 27, it's coming.
oh yeah. So, anyway, wrapping up things, what is the verdict? Does AI help you procrastinate? Does it help with your procrastinate, add to your procrastination, or is it kind of an in-between kind of thing? I'm a little bit all over on this, to be honest with you.
I still think it makes people procrastinate more,
Okay.
but I think there's ways to break that. And I do think
Hmm.
if you're a motivated person who uses the AI to chunk your overwhelming tasks, I think you're going to do fine.
Hmm.
And I think you are less likely to procrastinate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think AI itself isn't really, I don't think AI itself is really the question here. I'm thinking more of what AI tools are you
Hmm.
exposed to? Because some of them can help you procrastinate more, but we've also gone over a few of these that can help reduce your procrastination as well.
Hmm.
So, like, what are you exposed to? Like, we went over the people at work and what have you, where suddenly they integrated AI into their job, and now their brain starts to wander and that begins to procrastinate, more often and what have you. But then there's the student angle, where you have the copycat quiz AI, or what was it, quiz? I forget the name of it. Yeah, QuizCat AI.
Quizcat.
Now you won't procrastinate in your studying a little bit more if you use this properly. So, you're at a fork in the road right now, um, with whether or not you want to procrastinate. Are you going to use AI tools to help with this, or are you going to use AI tools to make it worse? Is kind of where I'm seeing here, and I think that, certain mindsets are going to come through no matter what the environment is. They're just going to use whatever elements within their environment personally.
Hmm. I think you're right.
So, yeah, so either way, I think that about wraps it up for this evening. I'd like to give everybody a big thank you for taking your time out of your day to listen to us. My name is Brian,
And I'm Adam.
and you have been listening to the Layman's AI, and we will see you next time.